Hello and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to be explaining what is Math.random. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. That really helps my channel in case you want to support me. And if you want to get notified every time that I upload a new video, you can hit the ring bell. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, everybody, so to get started in today's episode, I need you to open MDN. And when you go to MDN, go to the search bar, and then in here, you're going to type in something just called Math.random. And you will get the first article, which has the parentheses. So just pick that one, and you will get into this article right here. Now, I also have opened the code that we have been using so far. And of course, the Visual Studio Code as well in here so that we can go ahead and show you an example and how you can use Math.random today, okay? So first and foremost, let's go ahead and let's learn what is Math.random. Today's chapter is going to be really short because this is very easy to understand. But again, if you have questions in today's episode, just remember to leave them in the comment section below and I will take the time to reply as soon as I can, okay? So let's go to Math.random to the article. First, let's read a little bit. Then I'll explain you in my own words what this is so that you know how to use it, okay? So the Math.random static method. So it's a method. That's the first thing that you need to know. Or we can say that this is a built-in function. It belongs to the math object. Now, I already explained what the math object is in yesterday's episode. So you can go ahead and check that out. So the Math.random is a static method that returns a floating point, pseudo-random number that's greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1, with approximately uniform distribution over the range, which you can then scale to your desired range. The implementation selects the initial seed to the random number generation algorithm. It cannot be chosen or reset by the user. Okay, so what does this all mean? In simple terms, Math.random is a method that we use in order to generate a random number. Okay, as simple as that. With this method, you are going to be able to make up a number randomly every time, whether if you click a button or if, I don't know, let's say you use your keyboard or whatever event you want to add into your code, okay? So typically, this is used to generate random numbers for games, because on games, sometimes, you know, you want something random to appear to a user or have the user do something randomly. So it's most of the times used for games. Also simulations, and then any other applications where you want something unpredictable to happen, right? So that's why you will use probably the Math.random method. I'll say typically for games. But okay, it's also useful for whatever you want to use it. You think about it, you are the creator at the end and you're the programmer, so you can do whatever you want with it. But I'll show you how to use it in just a moment. So the first thing that you need to know is understand a little bit the syntax. And the syntax, just so you know, is super easy. Is this one right here. Math.random and then parentheses. Just like that. Math.random and then you open parentheses. Okay? So that's just the syntax. Now remember, this is going to generate, Math.random will generate a random number between 0 and the number 1. So it'll be a decimal number that you are expecting to get. Like in this example in here, you see they use console.log Math.random, and they didn't use any type of any type of code where you could play with a DOM. It's just a console.log thing. So when you run it, you get this result. If I run it again, then it generates me another random number. Now, don't pay attention to this portion of code up here. I just want you to see this one right here, the last one. Okay, so console.log Math.random. So every time that I run it, it'll generate a random number here. Now, how would you implement this in your code? Is very, very simple. let's go back to our code and I'll show you a way to implement this into our code. So let's go back in here. Let's do the following. Well, the first and foremost, what I am going to do, let me just put this thing here. Okay, so let me show you how this works. First thing I am going to do is change the title. Here we're going to call this page, I don't know, let's call it random number generator. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, let's just do something like that. Random number generator. Now, what I want to do is have a button. So we're going to leave this button, but I want this paragraph to be changed. I don't want this paragraph to be here. Let me just put this paragraph below the button right there. Now, I am going to change here this button ID instead of color button. Now I'm going to call it generate button. Okay, because this is going to generate a random number for us every time we click on it. And then we're going to say generate random number. Something like this. Generate random number. Just like that. Okay. And then in the ID for this paragraph is not going to be my paragraph anymore. I want to change this to the result because this is going to show us a result whenever we click on the button. Okay. And I will leave it empty so that we can pass whatever information we want in here, which is going to be a random number because we are going to use Math.random today. Okay. So that'll be for HTML. Let me just save this. Let's go back to our code and let's hit refresh. Okay, perfect. So right now, if I click on the button, it's not doing anything because, of course, I haven't written my script yet. So let's go to the script and I'm going to select everything that I have typed before. I'll just simply clear all this out, save this information, and refresh my page. Perfect. So let's go ahead and let's build the script for this. So first and foremost, we're going to create a variable called generate button. Okay, and then this is going to select the button. Okay, so now you already know how to do this. We have done this several times, but let's just do it again. Document, we can do document.getElement by the ID of, and then let's use generate button, and let's make sure this is typed in correctly. So I'll just select it from here directly. Let's copy this, paste it in the quotes. Okay, close it, and then in here we're going to say generate, let's use generate button now, dot add event listener. Okay, we're going to add an event listener, and then we're going to say that on click, right, when we click on this button, then we're going to execute the following function. Now the function in here is going to be the following. So let me just open brackets. I am going to create just the function inside of the event listener, just so you know. I'm not going to create a separate function and then call this one. So let's just do that. Now this function in here, what we're going to say to this function to do will be, well, let's create another variable inside of this function. So let's say how do we call this variable? Let random number, let's just call it random number. Let's let random number equal to math dot and then random. Okay, math.random, and then I am going to open parentheses. There you go. And just like that, math.random. Okay, and then inside of this function as well, what we want to do is generate a result whenever we use this math.random function, right? So what we are going to do right now is the following. Let's create another variable. Okay, and then this variable, we're going to call it result after click. I think that sounds good. Result after click, something like that. And then this is going to equal to document.getElement by the ID of, and then of course here, what we are going to do is select the the paragraph that we created in here. Okay, so let's just copy this and let's paste it in the quotes. Then let's close this. And then what we're going to say is result after click dot text content. We're going to change the text content, and this is going to equal something that is going to say your random number is, and then we are going to type whatever random number we generate plus, then we're going to say random number. Okay, now why random number? Because this is this variable right here, which is going to create the random number plus the random number. So let's save this information and let's refresh our code. So let me explain first how this is going to work. This is the code. It's very simple. So what you are going to see happening right now, and let's close this out as well, just to make sure. What we did first is select the button, right? Get element by ID generate button, which is this button right here, right? Which is this one right here. Now, after we have selected the button, we added an event listener to it. We added an event listener to it. We say generate button, which is the variable that we created up there, dot add event listener, and then we open parentheses. The parentheses are open in all this portion of code right here. Okay, it opens here and it closes in here. So we say that whenever we click on this button, we want this function to execute. Now the function is the following. This is the function right here till the pink brackets right there. So the function, what we did in the function is that we created a variable called random number, which is going to generate a random number between 0 and 1, right? So that for that we use Math.random. Okay, then we use let result after click. So we created another variable called result after click. So this is what's going to happen after we click the button. And then what we did in here is that we selected the ID of result, which is this portion right here. We selected this paragraph, which right now you cannot see because we don't have anything typed in there, right? But we selected that paragraph. And then what we did is that we pick the variable result after click, and we added a text content, which is going to say your random number is, and then the random number variable, which is this one right here, which is going to give us a random number. So that's how we are going to use Math.random into our code. So let me go ahead and make sure I save this again. And now let's hit refresh. And now if I click on this button right here, I should be able to get a random number. Okay, so let's hit generate random number. There you go. So your random number is 0. And by the way, I didn't add a space in here. Let me just make sure to do that. So your random number is, then after is, let me add just the space right there. Let's save this. Going back to our code, hitting refresh. There you go. So now we have a space. Okay, so every time that I click and generate a random number, it's going to give me a random number between 0 and 1. Now, how can I scale that up? How can I make the random number be bigger? Well, if you want this to be bigger, then you are going to multiply the result by whatsoever times that you want to make this bigger. How do you do that? Well, here in the variable, let random number equal to Math.random. Then here, you're going to add the multiplication operator, right? And then let's say that I want to make this from 0 to 10. Then I go ahead and I say times 10. So I hit save and then I hit refresh. Now, every time that it generates a random number, it'll be from 0 to 10. You see? It gives me 9, 6.7. Now it gives me 0.3, 2.52. Now remember that this is going to give you decimals. If you want to make this not a decimal, but you want to make this a whole number, then you're going to use something called math.floor. But I'm not going to talk about that in this chapter. I will teach you that in our next episode. However, that's just something for you to know. But so right now we're getting numbers from 0 to 10. Now, what if I want to make this from 0 to 100? You can perfectly do that. How? You simply multiply this by 100. Okay? So I just added another 0. Let's hit save now. And now let's hit refresh. Now, every time that I generate a random number in here, you see 84.12. I hit again 9.32. I hit it again 71.72. So every single time I am generating a new number, it's giving me what I told my code, right? Anything from 0 to 100. So That's exactly how Math.random works. It just generates random numbers for you. Now, if you want, and remember, the default is from 0 to 1, right? It'll give you decimals. But if you want it to generate, higher numbers, then all you have to do is add a multiplication in here and go ahead and, multiply that by 10, by 100, by 1,000 if you want. I don't know, you name it, I mean, you go crazy and do whatever you want with the function. But that's exactly how the Math.random method works. Now, I hope that this has been crystal clear to you. I feel that this chapter is super easy to understand, but if you have questions, and it could happen, just go ahead and leave them in the comment section below, and I'll take the time to reply as soon as I can, okay? Because I understand that sometimes, certain things might be a little bit difficult. So if that's the case, if you feel stuck, like if you feel that you need a little bit of help, just leave your questions in the comment section below and I'll help you out, okay? So that's it for this episode, everybody. I hope that you have learned so far to use Math.random. And in our next episode, we are going to be talking about Math.floor, just so you know. Okay, everyone, so we're wrapping up with that. Remember, if you have enjoyed this video, if you have liked it and you understand this, make sure to leave me a thumbs up. That really helps my channel in case you want to support it. And if you want to get notified every time that I upload a new video, you can hit the ring bell. That way you will get a notification every time I do. And remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye, everyone, and see you again in the next episode.